Hello and welcome to another episode of Worlds Collide. I'm your host, Justin.
And I'm Mitch.
And today we'll be bringing you DC's Solomon Grundy.
Born on a Monday.
Born on a Monday. Better known maybe as, no, not better known, I should say, but originally Cyrus Gold.
Cyrus Gold was his human name, his name when he was still alive.
way back in the day, because I think he spent some time dead before becoming relevant.
Yeah. So Solomon Grundy is a zombie. He's the DC's most famous zombie. If they have any other zombie characters, I'm not 100% sure. But Solomon Grundy is a zombie who's also a villain in the DC world. He's been a villain for Green Lantern Jay Garrick. He's been a villain for Batman. He's been a villain for Superman. Alan Scott, yes.
Yeah, Green Lantern's Alan Scott, the original Green Lantern.
Yes. What did I say?
Jay Garrick. He's a Flash.
Oh, yes. But yeah, sorry, Alan Scott, yes. So he's been an Alan Scott villain. He's been a Flash villain. He's been Barry Allen and Wally West villain. Yep. He's been a Superman villain. He's been a
Batman villain.
Batman villain, Hawkman villain.
Yep. He's mixed it up with a few people. Yep. And then I know in a lot of his different issues, he actually goes toe-to-toe with other villains.
Yep.
So
because sometimes he strays from the path of evil and he somewhat becomes a good guy for temporary means.
Yeah. Now I'd say strayed from the path of evil, maybe. More so got duped into doing something good.
Yes.
More probable.
Yeah. Yeah.
That low to, lesser intellect tends to get him in some predicaments with good guys and bad guys. They're able to take advantage of him in many ways, convincing him to do whatever the hell they want, essentially.
Solomon Grundy is pretty simple.
Yeah. Like I know at one point, Gorilla Grodd mind controlled him into going and doing whatever the hell you want. Like go take out Superman and Batman, I believe, on order of Lex Luthor for $1 million or something.
Yeah.
Get Solomon to do it.
And that's the funny thing, is that Solomon, even though he's a zombie, he does exhibit human traits. Like he has greed. He loves money. He loves gold.
Yeah.
And he can die. And
has died.
Many times.
Many times.
He has want. He can even eat like real food.
Yep.
He can be knocked out.
Yep. You can be blinded, I know. Like
and he's even been put out by gas. Like Batman gassed him once.
Batman hit him with some mace once just to blind him and get rid of him for a little bit.
Yeah. So now he's a zombie with like weird effects.
Yeah, now why don't we go off the original version, the 1944 version? Right. Was that Earth 2?
Yes. So which ultimately became Earth 2.
Ultimately became Earth 2. Although in its original comic release, there was no Earth 1, no Earth 2. It just was.
Yeah,
until we got some verification on the Flash's timeline, kind of resetting things.
That's right. Until Silver Age of comics happened.
Yeah. So he's one of our bronze then. He goes way back.
Golden Age, yes.
Or Golden Age, sorry. Golden Age.
Yeah, so his first appearance was All American Comics number 61 in 1944 as a Alan Scott.
Alan Scott. The first time the Green Lantern ran into Solomon, it did not go well for the Green Lantern.
No.
It did not go well for the first few times he ran into him.
No, well, from what I've researched, Solomon Grundy is probably Alan Scott's most common villain. Like
it seemed to sound that way. Like he ran into him a lot, and Alan Scott gets his ass handed to him a few times, but it doesn't keep him from trying again.
And at first he was never ever defeated. From everything that I've read, they always had to cage him somehow, like put him on the moon or
put him on the moon again, put him in space, put him in the water. Like he's more of a juggernaut solution than anything. We can't really get rid of him. We can just stall him.
Yeah. And he's also very inconsistent as far as powers are concerned, because in some stories you'll see him trading blows with Superman and like go toe to toe with Superman. And in some stories you'll see him go trading blows with Batman, going toe to toe with Batman. And if a guy could hit Superman so hard that'll push Superman through buildings, that same person punching Batman should be punching through Batman.
Right. Like Batman shouldn't even be able to stand there. Like
No.
he should be crippled and beaten.
Yeah. But
well,
I did read an explanation to that, though.
As did I. Apparently, it has to do with the medium in which he is sent away with or dispatched.
Well, it's more like the medium of who's writing him at the time.
Yeah, the writer, the author, etc.
But their explanation is that every time he dies, he just comes back to life. It's not like Hawkman and the Hawkgirl where he gets reincarnated in a new body. He just the next Monday he resurrects from the same swamp. The swamp, the terror swamp, I think.
The slaughter swamp.
Slaughter swamp. Yeah.
Yeah, because the original story goes there was two convicts escaped from jail. They're on the run, and they decided to hide out near Slaughter Swamp, figuring they won't search us here. It's cursed. Supposedly, some old, some guy from years before, Cyrus Gold, had been in some cahoots with a bank dealer, and some prostitute screwed him over, gypped him in some deal. Basically left him for dead in this swamp after murdering him. And then his body decomposed for the next 50 years, mixing with the swamp. And there's some curse laid on him. And, lo and behold, 50 years passed. These two convicts are running through the swamp. And just as they're talking about it, I hope we don't run into so-and-so. Boom. Cyrus Gold crawls up from the swamp and kills the two of them, stealing their clothes. And then I believe he wanders into another criminal camp just right after.
Yeah. Yeah. And what he was in life. So my introduction to Solomon Grundy, admittedly, has been from the Justice League cartoon.
Ah, okay.
Because I've never read any actual comic with Grundy. And in Justice League cartoon, his origin says that he was a criminal in life. Like he was... Yeah. He was a thief, a bank robber kind of thing. He was very greedy in real life. But then
he's had a few retellings. So yes. I believe that was one of his later retellings. His initial one was he was just some rich dude in dealings with a prostitute and a banker. And
that's right.
It went wrong, but it was later reiterated that, yes, he was some kind of thief, some bank robber. And it's kind of funny how the Dark Knight movie with Joker and Christian Bale, the intro to that movie is essentially what happened to Solomon on one of his bank robberies. The group he was doing the heist with decided to turn on him and killed him, left him for dead, and dropped his body off in the swamp. And so that was, I think, the second iteration of his origin.
Yes.
Okay. And then from the swamp, he resurrects, 50 years later?
Yes. So 50 years later, the corpse is reanimated as a huge shambling figure composed partly of the swamp itself.
Now he's supposed to be about 7.5 feet tall, 7'5", I think.
Yeah, he's kind of DC's Hulk.
Yeah, about 511 pounds, I heard. So he's hefty. He's a big dude.
Yeah. And we kind of touched on this when we talked about the Green Lanterns. We talked about Alan Scott a little bit and mentioned how his power is not derived from the
lantern,
the battery.
Yeah.
His power comes from the green. Well, you find out that that Solomon Grundy is actually powered by the gray.
Yes. So where Swamp Thing is essentially an avatar of the green, Solomon Grundy is an avatar of the gray, and the gray is what? Decay?
Yeah. So this was all revealed in the story in Grant Morrison's Seven Soldiers of Victory, I believe, is when they revealed all this. Revealed Cyrus Gold was a pedophile. His name is Cyrus Gold. Oh no, this is one where it's revealed that he could be Zor, I'll talk about that in a second.
Zor.
Yeah, in New 52. Blah blah blah. Where did I read that? Anyways, well, so what was the question again?
You got me. He was. If Swamp Thing is an avatar of the green, then Solomon Grundy is an avatar of the gray. Is he not?
Right,
and
right.
The gray is decay.
So yes, so I thought I wrote that part down. Yeah. So the gray is it's anti-life.
Anti-life.
Yeah. So represents life-destroying forces. So I did write that part down. That's what I was looking for. So yeah. So he became the personification of the gray. And the gray represents life-destroying forces. So decay will be one of those.
Okay. And essentially, his powers will manifest differently throughout the different editions. Like in the new 52, I believe he has more psychic powers, more things that he doesn't even know about.
Yeah. Well, that's so when I was getting back to when I was talking about how every time he dies, he just comes right back out of that same swamp. And so the story that they say, the cop out, I guess you could say, that the writers use to explain his varying powers, or sometimes he has psychic powers, sometimes he's just a brute, sometimes he is a complete, he's like almost animalistic in intelligence, and sometimes he's actually pretty intelligent, as intelligent as like a
teenager maybe,
or a crime lord, like a crime thug.
Okay, yeah.
So it's very inconsistent, and that is every time he dies and reincarnates from the swamp, he reincarnates with different varying powers, variations of his powers and personalities.
Personality too. Oh,
yeah. So it explains why sometimes he's a good guy, sometimes he's like severely evil, sometimes he's kind of borderline. Every time he reincarnates, there's little variations to his personality and powers.
Well, you could probably just chalk a lot of it up to brain damage.
Yeah, sure. Sure. I chalk it up to, okay, the writer needs Solomon Grundy to fit this role.
Yeah, because typically they're writing the bad guy to fill a role, to push a story of a hero.
Yes.
There's not a lot of villain-driven stories where the end goal is to praise the villain.
No.
Typically, it's for a good cause.
Unless you're Alan Moore.
Yeah. Now, with Solomon Grundy, after he killed the first initial two thugs in the swamp and he wanders into another campsite of criminals, he initially is asked what his name is, rather than them attacking him right away. They see this giant Sasquatch beast just walk into their camp dressed in, the black and white striped prison garb. And they're like, "Hey, bub, what's your name?" And he's, "I don't know my name. I don't know. I was born on a Monday." And that kind of kicked in the memory of one of the criminals, the old nursery rhyme.
Yeah.
I have it here. What is it?
I posted on my Facebook. It's Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday, Christened on a Tuesday, married on a Wednesday, became ill on Thursday, worsened on Friday, died on Saturday.
Something like that. That sounds about right.
Something like that.
Yeah, and that is essentially just the old nursery rhyme that he was given his moniker off of. He took to it. When the criminal recited it, he said, "Oh, I like that. My name's Solomon Grundy."
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, while he was doing that whole introduction, they were all without, they were far away from him that he couldn't touch. One of them walked up after and kind of touched him and caught him off guard, and he gave him a backhand, sent the dude flying. And as he did that, the rest of them kind of caught on, hey, this guy's standing in the fire. Like he's not burning. He's not realizing, you got fire up to your kneecaps right now. So that was kind of their realization, this guy is not to be fucked with. Like, we should make him our boss. And that's what they do. They're like, hey man, you want a job? You want to tell us what to do? Which is kind of dumb, right? Like they put the brains of the operation in the
brainless one.
Yeah.
The brainless brute.
Yeah, they should have been in charge, just telling them what to do.
And Solomon would have accepted their orders, depending
on his mood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it makes him a difficult person to deal with, a difficult individual.
Yeah.
You don't know if he's gonna lash out or be happy or be mad or.
Yeah. It's kind of like Bizarro, like that.
Yeah. Now I believe him and Bizarro faced off.
I'm pretty sure they've teamed up too.
Now I know Bizarro killed him by driving him into the sun. It was after Solomon Grundy got the Black Lantern ring.
Yes.
And he went against Bizarro. They did have an old history of friendship where Bizarro was able to basically jog some of his memories and get him to be a bit more sensible.
Yeah.
And while doing this, he drove him into the sun, incinerating him and the ring.
But then Solomon rose back up the next Monday.
Yep. See you on Monday. He don't stay down.
No,
because like even in the comics, they'll run into him. They'll have a storyline, blah, 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 whatever happens. And then it's months, weeks, years before we see him again.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, the timeline changes. It's not the same.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. Like, Solomon Grundy's never been the focus villain in a story. He's not a forward thinker. So he's not the one to be making the plans. He's been a member of teams. He's been part of the Injustice League and whatnot. And
apparently he led the Suicide Squad, which I didn't know.
I didn't know that either.
I would have liked to have seen him in the Suicide Squad movie. I think he would have been a good addition. Better than Killer Croc. Like, the guy had no purpose in that movie.
He didn't have a purpose in that movie. I like Killer Croc personally.
Yeah.
Like as a Batman villain, he's one of my more liked Batman villains.
Yeah. But like they could have killed Solomon off in Suicide Squad and it would have been fine. He's a great character to add to any movie where you want to off somebody.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
No. Well, a lot about that movie doesn't make sense.
Well, maybe we'll see him in number 2.
Yeah, maybe. Well, apparently we're going to get a Solomon Grundy in what's that new live action show that's coming out? One second. My buddy Alex was telling me about it earlier today.
Ooh.
Solomon Grundy is going to be in the first couple of episodes of...
Trying to think. DC. What DC show is coming out? Nothing rings a bell.
Stargirl. He's going to be in the first couple of episodes of the new Stargirl show.
Stargirl?
Yeah.
Who the hell's Stargirl?
Stargirl is part of the Justice Society.
I remember.
She's the one with the blue suit with the stars and the staff. Yeah, exactly.
The staff. Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah. So
she's OG.
Yeah. So she's getting her own show, and Solomon Grundy is going to be the villain in the first couple of episodes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm down to see it.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Yeah. He's been a villain of the Justice Society like a lot, primarily. Like, even though he started off as a Alan Scott villain, he quickly transitioned to being a consistent JSA villain.
Well, there's a time in one of the comic storylines where he single-handedly took out the whole Justice League.
Yeah.
Like, what?
That's what I mean about inconsistency.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very hard to write that story and then read any other story where he did anything less than that.
Yeah. Now, for any viewers at home, there's one thing that I would recommend to watch for Solomon Grundy. I ended up rewatching these 3 episodes today in preparation for today. And even though I've seen these episodes before, still, they made me cry. Like, Gotham? They make me cry almost every time. No, not Gotham. Fuck Gotham.
I knew you'd say that.
No. So there's a 2-part episode in Justice League where it's called... I was watching it earlier. I forgot what it's called, but it's the episode where they're up against Cthulhu. You find out that Cthulhu is like this god that used to be this god worshipped by the Thanagarians.
Yep.
And in that episode, Dr. Fate needed Solomon Grundy to cast a spell to send Cthulhu back to his dimension, and as a to repay Solomon Grundy for helping, what Dr. Fate offered Solomon Grundy is to get his soul back. So Solomon Grundy was really wanted to get his soul back. So at the end of the two-part episode, Solomon Grundy ends up sacrificing himself to save Hawkgirl, and Hawkgirl, she ended up saving Solomon Grundy. And at the end of the episode, spoilers, but at the end of the episode, Solomon Grundy ends up dying, and they end up burying Solomon Grundy, and on his headstone they just left "born on a Monday."
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
And that scene, just like that emotional connection between Hawkgirl and Solomon Grundy, because Solomon Grundy, they really humanized him. They made him sympathetic.
Yep.
And it really tugs on your heartstrings. Now, the second episode, that the follow episode to that was in Justice League Unlimited, where a couple of kids find this book, and they thought it was just some bogus book for D&D kind of thing. A couple of nerds, so they're saying this incantation to give them power to strike at their bullies at school. Nothing happens, but what they don't know is that they end up accidentally raising Solomon Grundy. But Solomon Grundy was on a rampage. He was not in control of his actions. And he got supercharged. So he was stronger and tougher than Superman. Like, he beat the crap out of Superman.
Because a bunch of kids wanted to get rid of their bullies.
Yeah. And awesome. They even brought in Amazo. And Amazo tried to face off against this Solomon Grundy. And this Solomon Grundy started to absorb Amazo's power.
And who's Amazo again?
Amazo, we haven't covered him yet, but he's one of the more powerful characters in DC.
Okay.
He's the android created by Dr. Ivo, I believe. And it's the android that has the ability to absorb the powers of anybody who's in his vicinity. So if he's up against the Justice League, he has the powers. And if he's up against Superman and Wonder Woman and Martian Manhunter and the Flash, well, he has all of their powers all at the same time.
Oh my God.
So Amazo's really powerful. I think
we've seen him.
Yes.
What have we seen him in?
Well, he's been in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited.
Just the cartoons, the animated.
Yeah, and Amazo has been in Young Justice as well.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what I remember him from.
Yeah, probably. But in Justice League Unlimited, Amazo ended up going across the galaxy, and then on his way back, he's become like a god because he's absorbed the powers of all these various alien races across the universe. So he's like Goku, right? He went off and just learned these new techniques and these new powers, and when he comes back, he's like god-like. He could take on the entire DC pantheon. Like, when he was coming back to kill Lex Luthor, and the entire DC pantheon, heroes and villains, had to band together to try and stop Amazo, and they still couldn't do it. Amazo just walked right through everybody,
and still killed Lex.
Oh, tried to, anyways. Yeah. Well, anyways, Amazo showed up. He tried to fight this Solomon Grundy, and he I need to leave. If I stay here, he's going to become even more powerful, and he'll be unstoppable. I got to go. So he left. So he left. So anyways, Hawkgirl ends up showing up, and Hawkgirl's mace metal, Nth Metal, and Nth Metal has the ability to disrupt magical bonds.
Oh, okay. So he's magically bound to the corpse, essentially.
That's right. So when she hits Solomon Grundy, it actually hurts him.
Yeah.
So she ends up hitting him, and he ends up getting knocked into the sewers. And everybody was going to everybody's saying they need to go kill Solomon Grundy, and Solomon Grundy's her friend, right? She doesn't want everybody to just go and kill Solomon Grundy. Like, let me go talk to him, kind of thing.
Yeah.
They tried to talk, it doesn't happen. So they know that they need to kill Solomon Grundy. She needs to put him out of his misery, because ultimately he doesn't want to be alive. He wants to be back with his soul.
Yeah.
So anyways, she, seeing that she has the only weapon that can actually hurt him, she knows that she has to go down and put him out of his misery. And Green Lantern, blanking on his name right now, John Stewart.
Oh, okay, yeah, John Stewart.
Yeah. John Stewart's like, what do you mean? What are you gonna do? So, and Hawkgirl's like, your favorite move is Old Yeller, and you have to ask me what I'm about to do.
That's what she says.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
John's well.
Yeah. And then she goes down and she sees Solomon Grundy, and Solomon Grundy understands and he welcomes her to in his life, kind of thing. And this is a very touching episode. So so you just need to watch those 3 episodes, the 2-part from Justice League and this 1 30-minute episode of Justice League Unlimited.
Okay.
And if you have a heart, it's gonna make you cry.
We'll find out.
Yeah. And it's Solomon Grundy episodes. Like, in my opinion, these 3 episodes are as good as Heart of Ice from Batman.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And which one's Heart of Ice? Is that with Mr. Freeze?
Yeah, Heart of Ice is a story that made Mr. Freeze the Mr. Freeze that we know today.
Right. Okay. Now, Hawkgirl's a suitable duo, like a suitable pair up for Solomon Grundy, because she knows the anguish of death and rebirth, loss and resurrection.
Yes, she does.
She knows it all too well. Like,
yes, she does.
Between Hawkman and Hawkwoman, I don't think anyone understands it better than Solomon, you know?
Yeah.
And does he? I don't even know if he remembers. Does he even retain the memory of his death, of his previous unlivings?
No.
He's just like, oh, I'm back.
He just wakes up from the swamp again. Yeah.
What do you mean this is the 4th time?
Yeah, Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday.
We know. I met you before. You must be an annoying villain. It's like, you don't remember me? You killed me.
It's like 50 First Dates.
Yeah. Oh, God.
You start taking pictures of you fighting Solomon. So, like, next time you see Solomon,
remember? Remember? Now, okay, so you've never read one of the Solomon comics?
No, I've never read a story with Solomon Grundy in it.
What do you know then from his comics, like outside of his like standalone and his pair ups and his verses?
Well, I do know that because they introduced the idea of the Gray, he is very closely related to Swamp Thing. So he's very related to the Swamp Thing stories, and he's very related to Alan Scott stories.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure because of all of that, he by association, that would mean that he would also be involved in some John Constantine stories, probably.
I would imagine. DC Vertigo has some crossovers with him. Well, it has to, because he's paired up with Swamp Thing to try and take out Superman.
Well, that's just it. That's just it. So, and there is no Vertigo anymore. So, John Constantine and Swamp Thing, they're part of the main DC continuity now.
Okay. It's good that we got them all under the one umbrella. It makes things way easier.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah. So, I know there's been a Solomon Grundy in Gotham.
I was about to say, yeah, Butch plays Solomon Grundy. Butch Cassidy's one of the mobsters. I don't know. He does an all right job playing.
Yeah,
Solomon.
you seen the episode?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't. I stopped watching before the end of the first season. I couldn't do it.
He does a pretty good job playing Grundy. I'm trying to think. They cure him of being Solomon Grundy at one point. So he's Solomon Grundy for like a season or 2, maybe.
Yeah.
I think he went back to being Butch, though.
Yeah. And I think there was a Solomon Grundy in... Apparently, when I was doing my research, there was a Solomon Grundy in Arrow as well. It's like season 2 Arrow. Yeah. I know.
I'd have to rewatch.
Yeah.
I can't recall.
Yeah. Well, let me... one advantage of doing this from my computer is I could just bring up the wiki real quick.
Resources at fingertips, you say?
Yeah. Yeah. Is this one here will be easy for me to find.
All right, Micro, lay it on me.
Second season of Arrow portrayed by Graham Shales. This version never became a zombie, but was instead injected with a serum. The character, renamed Butch Gitzian, a mob enforcer, appeared in 2000 Gotham. So that's the Gotham version.
I'm trying to think.
So Cyrus Gold debuted in the second season of Arrow, portrayed by Graham Shales, and this version never became a zombie, was instead injected by a serum. So Cyrus Gold was in the second season of Arrow, but he was never Solomon Grundy.
I vaguely remember there being a Cyrus Gold.
Yeah.
And he was just some big mobster.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. In Smallville, we got Doomsday, but we never got Solomon.
No, we never got Solomon.
Wow.
That's it. So I don't really consider that appearance in Arrow a true Solomon Grundy. And
no.
Fuck Gotham. So
I'm about to try and go back to it. I think I got to the end of season 4 where Bruce finally starts to put on a shitty version of his outfit.
Yeah.
And I think season 5 is where he starts to actually go out into the streets beating ass and stuff. So it's been a while since I've watched any Gotham, but I think I'm going to go and try and finish the stretch here.
Yeah.
I'm running out of shit to watch in quarantine.
Yeah. I'm actually curious to find out if I'm going to get the next season of the 100 because of this quarantine.
I'm trying to think. Ooh, that's a good question. There's a bunch of shit that we might not get.
Because the 100 normally comes out in May.
Mm-hmm.
May or June. So
it's on season 7 of that show, I think.
Something like that.
It's getting there. Oh man, I'm trying to think. One of the other our Batman movie with Robert Pattinson got pushed back to next year.
Yeah. Well, the movie that I've been waiting for, New Mutants, is pushed back yet again.
2 more years, I think.
2 more years.
Is it 2020 now? 2022, sorry?
I hope not. I've been waiting for that one since last year.
I know. Really disappointed with those guys. And then there's another one that was supposed to come out, I think.
Well, they're just coming out with the trailers for it and everything. It looked great.
I know. We're getting all hyped up, and that's maybe later.
Yeah.
Trying to think. What else we got on Solomon here? I know he's not as much of a widely talked about character. He doesn't have as much stardom in the in the DCU.
No. And from my research, there isn't a lot of talking points for me to go off of. He hasn't had. It's like he was a big player in the Crisis. He was a notable character in Blackest Night because in Blackest Night, everybody who died comes back to life, and so that means his Cyrus Gold came back to life in Blackest Night.
Oh, Cyrus Gold came back.
Yeah.
He was also in the Long Halloween, I believe.
Yeah. Apparently, I don't remember this, but apparently Batman brought Solomon a turkey dinner for Halloween.
Yeah. So at one point he ran into, I think this was when he hit him with the mace. So he ran into Solomon at one point doing some bullshit, and Batman couldn't beat him up. He couldn't beat him. He couldn't win the day. So he blinded him with some mace and fucked off for a bit.
Yeah.
And then later on, after he was done doing whatever heroics he needed to do, he felt bad for Solomon. And he's like, all right, bud, come on here. I'll buy you a turkey dinner.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't have much more to give. I knew this was going to be a short episode. Maybe even shorter than expected, but really, there's really not much to talk about. He is a good character. He's never going to be a main villain.
Well, there's more to talk about, I guess. In the sense of, we never said really why Alan Scott's ring doesn't work on him. Scott being the Green Lantern, he ran into him many, many times and was unable to ever really beat him. He was almost unable to do anything to stop him, to slow him down, to get in his way at all. He was like a little bug. Just get out of my fucking way. Solomon kept flicking him away.
Yeah.
And the reason being,
he's mostly made out of wood.
Yeah. So the original Green Lantern, his magic works off the green. And because wood is of the elemental nature, it's immune. The green powers do not work on itself, essentially. So being that Solomon Grundy was reanimated basically off wood and other objects from the swamp, he's now plant life to a degree, where Green Lantern ring just is non-effective.
Well, Alan Scott's Green Lantern.
Alan Scott's ring is non-effective.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's why, like, the first few times he ran into Solomon Grundy, Solomon, I think, almost killed him. He put him in a coma.
Yeah.
He had his sidekick carry him off and bring him home to rejuvenate and repair. And when he came out of his stupor, he was still so out of it. He went off to fight him again and forgot his fucking ring. Like, he ended up having to get there and beating him with his bare hands. And we know how well that went.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, though, he was able to throw him under a train and get rid of him for a bit.
Yeah. I knew Solomon spanked him a bunch of times.
Oh, yeah. Like, Alan Scott, he's a laughable Green Lantern when going up against Solomon.
Yeah.
Laughable at best. And then what else we got?
So okay. I did write down his New 52 origins.
Oh, okay.
So in New 52, they brought him back to being an Alan Scott villain.
Yep.
And this is where they introduced that he was a personification of the Gray. So he wasn't always a personification of the Gray. That started happening in New 52.
Okay.
And when he was part of the Gray.
And that's the anti-life.
Yeah. And so now in New 52, he was actually a slaughterhouse worker in 1898.
Yes.
And this was where his wife got raped by his foreman. His wife got raped by his foreman, and then she ended up killing herself. Then the foreman ordered the workers to feed her body to the crocodiles. So this sent Solomon Grundy or Cyrus Gold crazy, killed the foreman, killed his co-workers, then killed himself.
Yeah, and this was all right beside the swamp. So when he killed himself, he essentially fell into the swamp, and ta-da, 1,500 years go by, and we got Solomon.
Yeah. Incidentally, and one other thing we didn't mention is his swamp, Slaughter Swamp, is right off the coast of Gotham City.
Oh yeah, it's real close.
Yeah.
Now another thing we haven't really mentioned, but it's very relevant with last week's episode, the Hulk.
Yes.
So Solomon Grundy actually got his debut about 18 years before the Hulk ever hit comics.
More than that.
And it's safe to say Marvel basically ripped off the Hulk from Solomon.
Sort of.
In demeanor, in powers.
Yes.
In maybe not origin and psychosis, but
yes,
they're pretty damn identical in strength and, appearance. They're both
definitely in appearance.
Rage beasts, super strong rage beasts, super healing, regeneration.
Yeah.
I think they can both survive in space, underwater, etc.
Yeah. One thing, one show that I like to watch is Because Science, and another one is Death Battle. And both of those, they really get into like the physics behind some of the feats of strength some of these characters have done. I would like for them to come out with the science to figure out how much strength, how much power was required of Solomon Grundy to be able to take a tank. So a tank, lift it, and then rip it in two. How strong do you have to be able to just grab a tank and not even like smash it? I mean, like just like rip it in two. Like there's not even any bending. Like he ripped it like he was ripping a loaf of bread. Pretty much. How strong do you have to be?
Probably pretty strong. But right? I feel like I've seen a lot of characters do more impressive things.
Oh, well, no. Well, like Superman pulling the Earth, the Hulk, readjusting the total,
like relocking tectonic plates, like Now how much strength for that?
Death Battle actually did cover that though. Death Battle did do that calculation.
And
I don't remember. I have to rewatch.
We don't have the stats right now.
No, it's not the Hulk. But Death Battle did do the stats on that feat of strength.
Okay.
He still lost to Doomsday.
Well, Doomsday is fucking strong.
Yeah.
It's Doomsday. Yeah, so Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday, every damn Monday.
Yep.
He's an interesting character. I like him.
Me too.
He was actually one of the big bosses in, I believe it was Batman Arkham, or it was one of the Batmans, one of the video games.
Was he?
Yeah, he was one of the bosses actually.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was one of the bosses in one of the Arkhams too. Yeah. And he's a playable character in Justice League as well. Yeah, Injustice.
Yeah, I love the Injustice games. Those are some awesome fighters.
Yeah, he was a grappler. He was,
So yeah, I think that's all we got to cover on this week's episode of Solomon Grundy.
Yeah.
As you guys can tell, our setup is a little different here today. We're trying to
do the responsible thing and do it as social distancing.
Isolate.
Yeah. So hopefully this won't last long. So as soon as we are able to, we'll be back in the same room again.
You got it. So, knock on wood. Hopefully this doesn't last too much longer, but hopefully our quality didn't diminish too much. Let us know what you guys think. If there's any suggestions, any tips or tricks you have for us to improve our quality here over the next few weeks, while we might not be able to meet in person and get our regular show on the road. Bear with us, please.
We'll adapt.
Yes. Next week,
Kenny, what do we got?
I don't know if Kenny's still there. He's been hiding in the background.
Kenny's still here.
What up, Kenny?
Not much. So
who do we got planned here for next week?
On the schedule, we had Jessica Jones, but we could also do Namor or someone else.
All right, why don't we leave it up to the vote then for the next week? Jessica Jones or Namor, those will be the two that we will list for now for the running.
Sounds good.
All right, so for our viewers tuned in now, please leave a comment who you guys would like to see for next week's character. Namor the Submariner, or Marvel Aquaman, or Jessica Jones, your Marvel's superhero.
Marvel's
of sorts.
Private Dick.
Private Dick, yes. All right, cast your vote. We'd love to hear who you want to see. If there's any other characters that you want to see down the road, tell us too, and we'll try and fit those into the schedule at some point. Thanks for tuning in to Worlds Collide. This is Season 2, Episode 15. Solomon Grundy signing off. Take care, guys.
Cheers.